All right, are we ready?
Yeah, let's just go. Let's do this.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of PodQuest. Today is going to be the tabletop edition.
Hello. Yes, tabletop games of all sorts, shapes, and sizes, as long as you play them on top of
A table.
Nice, table.
All
It's pretty straightforward in terms of terminology.
right. Well, I'm Corey Boucher,
I'm Max Heckert.
and the first two games we're going to do have been featured on Will Wheaton's Tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a fan of that show, you'd recognize the name of them.
Much props to him. Yeah, if you hear us and like it, you should go see it played live by Will Wheaton after this is over.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first one. The first one's going to be Munchkin.
Number one.
It is well, I have the deluxe version, so for me it's a board game, but if you don't have the deluxe version, it's just a dice game with cards.
The deluxe makes it a tabletop game, though.
Yeah, the deluxe makes it a tabletop game. You get a nice little visual map, you get figures you can move around. The goal of the game is everybody starts at level 1, and the first person to level 10 wins. And the fun of the game really comes from the fact that to move up, you have to beat a monster, and you can't always beat the monster on your own.
The monster selection varies greatly from they're leveled themselves. There's a level 1 potted plant that gets in your way. That's a pretty easy one to beat. But then on the other end, there's a level 16 dragon that gets in your way on occasion.
Yeah, I mean, the villains themselves are what kind of make the game really fun. There's internet troll, stuff like that, potted plant.
Amazonian warriors.
Your gender matters. You start the game, whatever gender you are in real life.
And then much like a Fable 2, at some point, even if on accident, you turn yourself into another gender.
Which can lead to some funny times. It seems to happen more often than not that the newest person at the table is the one that gets their gender flipped.
That's a good way to jump someone into the game.
Yeah.
Welcome to the table. Welcome to Munchkin. You're now a boy. Sorry for your tits. I liked them a lot.
But you can probably lead us to water a little easier than you could before.
What? Because he's got the divining rod in his pants? That's so stupid.
That's where I was going with that joke.
Unbelievably stupid. Cut. Back to start. Should always have that moment where it's just like, no, too bad. But the trick about fighting the monsters, what makes it really tricky is you can enlist the help of people around the table, or
people can try to screw you over.
Yeah, there's lots of ways of marketing and trading that go back and forth.
You basically run into situations where you can trade cards. You can say, hey, help me beat this. I'll give you a treasure for helping me beat it. I'll give you this card from my hand. I'll go clean your car after we're done with the game, as long as you help me win.
As long as the favor stands, yeah. There's a lot of monsters that require a little bit of help, and every time you defeat a monster, not only do you gain a level in your hopes to get to level 10, you also get some treasure from the room that you just looted.
Yeah, and that's a great bargaining tool, really.
It's a good bartering system.
But the really fun part comes when someone is about to win.
They're level 9.
When they're level 9 and they are trying to get to 10. They're trying to get their victory at the end of this game. That's the point where everybody at the table gives a big F you, and they pile up as much as they can to make sure that person doesn't win.
And that's the scary part, because when you're fighting a monster and you lose, there's a whole myriad of just different ways that the monster will take you down a peg. You can lose some cards, you may lose a level. There are some monsters that are so powerful, if you lose to them, the card says you die, you are dead, and you're no longer playing the game. You might as well go out and get just some fresh air, because the game's not over yet, except for you.
All right, so we've talked about some of the things that we really like about the game, but there's one thing we haven't touched on, and it's one of my favorite things about this game, because there's such a bargaining system, because there's such an ease for new players to get in, because the rules of the game aren't that complicated, because it really comes down to the way you negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, more often than not, the people that are new to the game are the ones that end up winning, because they're the ones that kind of get left alone.
They get sympathy. You don't want to be so mean to them that they feel like they have to leave.
It's normally the experienced player that's sitting there at level 9 about to win. That's the one that everybody gangs up on. The new player that somehow happens to find their way up there, everyone's like, oh yeah, all right. He's not the biggest threat, you know.
And at that point, the drinking that's been going on, if you manage to set up a drinking game of some sort, that's when it really starts to kick in, and then you really enjoy yourself.
Well, that's the advantage of gatherings, really, is the drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And the board game second.
That's right. You got to drink with people, or else you just look like an alcoholic. I love the permanent death, though. I think that's my favorite part of the whole game. Because I don't know if you played Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I played Fire Emblem.
They've always had that mechanic where if you lose someone, oh well. Welcome to the real world.
The first time I played Fire Emblem was as a kid, and I remember hating that game specifically for that reason. Because I had played like Final Fantasy and stuff growing up, and like I was playing Fire Emblem, and one of my guys died, and I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just
Phoenix down or whatever.
Yeah, Phoenix down after the battle. It's cool. And then he's gone.
And then Fire Emblem points to Eris and be like, no, see, we can do that too.
Fire Emblem taught me mortality at a young age. That was.
I love the new one, Awakening for the DS. That got the best of all the Fire Emblem.
That has actually been on my list for a while of things to get.
I'll let you borrow it, I think.
Oh, do you have it?
No.
I'll probably take you up on that.
Sure.
It's recorded.
It's
you have to let me borrow it now.
It's not my copy. I'm also when I use it, I'm also borrowing it, so I'm gonna be borrowing it to you a second time.
It's an extended borrowing.
Double
program.
borrowed. It's one of those Animal Crossing ones where it's like everyone's used it, and no one knows who has it now. So if you do manage to get it from me, I'll give you a shirt.
I was gonna continue to go on about Animal Crossing, but we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
There's too many rabbit holes we're stepping over, and we're gonna go down one, and it's just gonna collapse in front of us. So what's the next part? Go ahead.
The conversation. That's where I was gonna go with Munchkin, and what I love about it is that it really creates dialogue at the table. I've played like a really big game for my family is Mexican Train, which is a domino game if you're not familiar with it. And I find it really boring, personally. Maybe if you get the right crowd of people. But typically it's really boring because all it is like, it comes your turn, you play your domino, you move on.
Yeah, if you're playing Tetris with somebody, you don't really get into a big conversation with them. You just match the blocks. And dominoes is the same thing.
But what makes Smash or Munchkin so much fun is the conversation that happens at the table. You're bargaining with people. You get to intentionally screw over people, or you get to help someone beat something that someone else is trying to screw.
You can really choose alliances, and it forms very, very quickly and very strong when you actually have a friend in that game.
Yeah, and then like every game creates this completely different dynamic of the way it's going to play out, and that's what makes it so fun. And like I mentioned before, it's so easy to pick up as a new player. Like the rules are simple enough. Unlike the next game that we're going to talk about, which I love.
This is a strong segue. Ease of play.
Ease of play. The next game we're going to talk about is Smash Up. I think this game is very fun. I enjoy playing it, but this is not the game that you want to bring your non-gamer friends in. This isn't the one that when you're hanging out with the people that don't like board games or don't like video games and you convince them to play one game.
Yeah, this is not the one that
you
want to showcase.
This is not the one.
This isn't the one you want to showcase all your nerd culture, because this one is deep. It is deep. You cannot touch the bottom.
Smash Up is a deck building game. Mm-hmm. There are 8 decks in the core box, and then there are expansions. But you combine 2 decks together.
Of various lore. There's tricksters. There's
aliens, robots,
dinosaurs, pirates, ninjas.
Yeah.
Wizards.
This is the game that you get to answer the question: who would win in a fight, pirates or ninjas? I did steal that directly from Will Wheaton's introduction to the game. So.
And I'm just going to say what I said for my entire life. Screw ninjas. I don't care what they do. Pirates all the way.
But anyway, it's a deck building game. You combine the 2 decks and you play against each other. What makes this game so not noob friendly is that almost every card does something special. So you can't just like go on your turn. You have to like play the card, and then everyone has to like read what it does to make sure you're not like.
Yeah, the moment everyone goes, "What does that card do?" and they're all leaning over your hand, going, "Oh, I have to draw 5 cards and then discard 4 of them. Okay, interesting."
Now for strategy, it's a great game because all the decks play differently. You combine, 2 of your favorite styles,
and you find wonderful combos that you didn't know existed in the game yet. You're discovering them as you go.
Yeah, exactly. And with any card game, there's that luck of the draw. So it's a great combination of strategy and luck, which makes it really fun. But because there's so much text, you don't get too much.
You gotta be an avid reader.
It's not Monopoly level though. We're not like I'm
What?
not. It's not Monopoly level in the unfun. It's a very very fun game. It just has a learning curve.
Oh yeah, the randomness doesn't feel so stupid if you get hit by a bad draw, unlike Monopoly, which is just rolling dice and just getting mad at everyone you're playing with.
Do people finish Monopoly? Do people like actually get to the end?
No, I've never once ended a game of Monopoly officially.
I
I always just have them winning money, and the person goes, "Screw it, I quit, I leave."
I'm pretty sure that is the story of Monopoly.
It's a test of strength and endurance. Can you sit down for 2 to 3 days and outlast your opponent? That's the trick.
And then when you do, you have the Monopoly.
That's right, you win. The Monopoly?
The Monopoly.
The Monopoly.
As in like a business sense, you have the Monopoly on.
Because you put in all the time and effort.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone else folded, so that left you.
Oh, now we're in a poker references now.
Yeah. That leaves you with all the oil in the world. You are
all the oil in the world. Yeah, that's a touchdown. That's a goal.
That's a cowabunga.
It's a basket. It's a buzzer beater.
I don't know references.
Yeah, you can just say words and there'll be a reference to something.
That's a.
I was gonna give you time. I was gonna let you say it, but you really
Didgeridoo was the first word that came to mind, and I didn't.
I like that you mentioned didgeridoo so I can play mine while we're here. Still have my vuvuzela too. Never let that thing go. Did you get a vuvuzela?
I did not. My roommate had one when I was in college.
Oh, so you got the unfun part of the vuvuzela. The fun part is playing it. The unfun part is being around the person playing it.
Yes.
I have to bring that in sometime.
That's gonna be our segue sound. Whenever we switch to new topics, we're just gonna
go find it online. That'd be the best way to do it.
That takes a.
It takes a long time. You're right there at the computer.
We believe in an analog future.
No, we don't. You do. Because you're a weirdo. You and all the Amish people. They're getting into your head, aren't they?
Yes.
They are. You've tasted their bread?
I've had their bread. I've had their butter.
That's how they swing you.
I've had their blood.
Anything else?
No.
Like that? I'm not going to ask any questions because I'm a little uncomfortable right now.
That is the.
I'm deadly curious, but.
So were they.
They know how to use knives and stuff. That doesn't count as technology. They should be good at that.
So speaking of killing people, should we go on to Pathfinder next? This is
no. No, we're going back. We're doing that segue one more time. That's not how we're going to get to this Pathfinder.
Go on. Set up our segue.
Okay,
I'll wait.
You know what else is tasty? Victory. No, that's one of those way worse. Stop looking at me. You're making me very nervous.
So speaking of killing people, we're gonna...
Let's go back to the first one, yeah.
So, the one game that has not been featured on Tabletop, on Will Wheaton's Tabletop, I should say, that we're going to talk about today is going to be Pathfinder.
Yes.
Yes. I will clarify and say that we're relatively new at Pathfinder, so if you have some really obscure rule where you're going to like quote some specific page, I have no idea what you're talking about. But what I do know is that the game is a shit ton of fun.
Mm-hmm. If Pathfinder were religion, we haven't necessarily read the book yet, but we go to mass on Sundays.
Yes, that's
every,
good.
Every now and then we go and we sit and there's like drinks and donuts and stuff for us.
For those unfamiliar with Pathfinder, if you know what Dungeons and Dragons is, you know what Pathfinder is.
Yeah, you're on the same page.
You are on the same.
You're on the same level. We're both in the same boat. We're seeing eye to eye. We're sharing a toothbrush. We got matching tattoos. Like you get it. Like we're on the same side here.
I got one half the yin. You got the yang.
Mm-hmm. Which looks like sperm on mine. This is just a white ball. I really kind of screwed that one up.
When you should never get a tattoo from a guy who just introduces himself as Frank. That's it. His name's Frank.
I think if he told us his name was Francis, I'd be even more concerned. Nicknames are important.
Maybe. I agree.
Who'd you get your tattoo from?
I don't have a tattoo.
I gave you an option. You could have just said you did.
I'm not gonna lie on the internet. Can't do that.
That's true. We wouldn't be allowed to. Someone would flag us. For lying.
I would like to get a tattoo.
Of what?
All right, this is gonna be really lame.
This is hate. This is the audience.
I genuinely on my forearm would like to get the quote from Dune. Fear is the mind. I shall not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
That's nice. That's a nice little line.
And then I want to get like someone who's really good at like abstract, and I want to do like abstract like dunes or something behind it.
I just wanted to get a tattoo of like ab lines, like in a skin,
so you never have to work
in
out.
A skin tone font, yeah, like that little V that you get when you do when you do a bunch of setups. I just want that one drawn on with a marker or something.
And then you move something tasteful like a butterfly on your back, and
yeah, well I have that one already. It's a dolphin, not a butterfly.
Dolphin's good.
Dolphins are way cooler.
Butterfly cliche. Dolphin. That's where you start getting classy.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like one of those normal ones. It was like a bottlenose dolphin. Or, it was the one that doesn't have a really cool nose. White and ugly.
What were we talking about?
Sperm whales?
Pathfinder. So.
Right. We were talking about tattoos because I don't even know why. I'm gonna get my real tattoo. Fantasy is getting Blackbeard's flag that he sailed with on Queen Anne's Revenge. It's a picture of a devil with horns. It's a skeleton holding a spear, piercing a heart with it, and then his other hand holding an hourglass. It's got all the pirate motifs in one flag.
That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Anytime you see a red on a pirate flag, it means someone's gonna get shot and killed, guaranteed. Even if you surrender peacefully, they're gonna kill one person. And the clock and the sand means normally their ship is fast, and if you see them, you're running out of time. Because they're gonna catch up to you eventually.
This is impressive. This is an impressive level of knowledge.
I read a lot of pirate stuff. I'm not just on the bandwagon. Okay, I'm a pirate enthusiast.
Which is why when it comes to Smash Up.
Yeah, I keep picking pirates as my guys, and they're just really poorly represented in that game. Either that or I just suck and I don't know what to do. It's probably the second one. It's a little bit of both. Let's do Pathfinder.
Okay.
I just wanted to get that out of the way.
A deep pain.
Yeah, I feel for the pirates' plea.
So Pathfinder is, if you know Dungeons & Dragons, you know Pathfinder. The best part of Pathfinder is what we talked about earlier when it comes to conversation. You get to be part of a story. You get to live, this fantasy. You can be anything you want within certain limitations. But as long as you have a good GM, someone who's willing to create a great story for you, you get to be the hero in that story.
Yeah, it's a lot different than watching a movie. You're actually living through, as opposed to living vicariously through Arnold Schwarzenegger or, I don't know, Ryan Gosling when they're playing something awesome. You are the awesome person. Everything you say is fabricated to make you sound more awesome. And,
there's the stereotype of how, really nerdy and kind of shameful in a way, especially Dungeons & Dragons. There's always that big cliche there.
The people can't separate that reality from the reality they're creating.
Yeah.
Because they're too nerdy. Not the case with us. No.
I am aware of how blurry my lines are. I am self-aware.
Mm-hmm. In my mind, I'm like, I have a +3 bow and arrow that I can hit you with right now, but I don't say that out loud to the girl. I say, hi, what's your name? Can I buy you a drink? And if she says no, I'll be like, I have poison-tipped arrows. I just recently got a bow of Sundry and causes bleed damage, so you better watch your back.
But what's really fun is the way that the conversation happens. And I know I keep kind of harping on that, but that's what, why would you play a video game over a board game? And that's what it comes down to. You get to be with friends. A lot of story games that you play on computers, on Xbox, on PlayStation, it's you by yourself in the story.
You're essentially reading a novel.
Yeah.
You just sat down, you've got, it's nighttime, you just do this to relax and listen to a story. But you're living with other people who are just in the same boat as you, creating something brand new and unique.
And especially when it comes to Pathfinder and role-playing games, a lot of it isn't scripted. The GM knows kind of where they want the characters to go, but the decisions are truly yours.
Well, it depends on the GM. Like you seem to be a good GM. You're very lenient. You're like the boss of the group, and it's like we know we can have fun because this is the cool boss. And Chris is like the get back to work boss. I don't like this. There's nothing wrong with that. That increases productivity, but
I appreciate being the cool one. That's
yeah, you're more laid back. Like if I asked you for ice cream, you'd be like, sure. If I asked Chris for ice cream, he'd be like, did you finish your dinner?
And it's not that you couldn't have ice cream. It's just that there's a process to it.
Mm-hmm. I want some ice cream right now. I shouldn't have talked about it.
That does bring up a good point, though, where not every experience is the same. When I GM, I'm much more story-oriented. There's normally very little combat when I'm GMing.
Mm-hmm.
It's normally more about what sort of decisions the players make. What sort of impact does that have on the world?
I think the story of us finding that compass, essentially, in the bad guy's room, we distracted the guards. We had one person sneak in as best he could, steal the compass that's pointing towards a very important landmark that we don't know anything about. Got the heck out of there. And then we rode a dragon, and it was like, this is a fun day.
Yeah, and there was, the decisions that I as the GM for that particular part of the story, the paths that I assumed you were going to take, you guys didn't take, and that's what makes it so fun.
Mm-hmm.
The breaking into the guy's room was purely your decision. It wasn't something I goaded you into, or I laid out in front of you as an obvious choice. It was something you guys decided.
And we really worked out the details on that. We had like blueprints up. We're like, how are we going to get these guards?
Didn't you have guys like you had like people like stationed around? You had the drunk of the group stumble in to cause a distraction first.
We had a designated distraction, and then we had someone conjure up an image and sound effect of fire. Well, not actually being fire, just like a projecting on a screen. It got one of the guards to run away, and we just ran in there and ransacked his room. Very cool. He's the bad guy. Like we weren't stealing something that belonged to someone nice. Just for the record.
Just to defend yourself. Just to defend your
Like
character.
I'm not a thief by trade. It's just if someone has something important and I want it, I can do it. It's good to know that you can. Like every now and then you try to like put a candy bar in your pocket and be like, can I get away with this? But then you don't. You pay for it. But it's nice to know that you are sneaky.
Every once in a while, you just gotta remind yourself that you can do this. This is your thing. Like, if I want that candy bar, I could take it. It is my gift to you to let you have that candy bar.
Oh, thank you. Or wait, were you still speaking hypothetically?
No. I
you were giving me a candy bar.
I was speaking as a thief, as the rogue of the group. We do have a bard in the group who really likes to see how far he can push the boundaries.
Yeah, his job is to see what the DM will and will not tolerate.
Which brings up another interesting point: the different types of players you're going to get, which is something else you don't get from a game you play by yourself. Is the dynamic that's created from all these different personalities trying to play the game their own way.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm sure everyone who's listening. Well, this is a weird assumption to make, but I'm going to assume you guys know the scale of good and evil. You can be chaotic good, lawful good, neutral good, chaotic evil, lawful evil, neutral. And that's a good template for characters' personalities, and you're able to find out what that character would do. You discover as you go on what would my character do in this situation. And
it's really fun. I talk more from the GM side because that's what most of my experience is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I enjoy storytelling in general. So that's the other part of like the way I think. But it's really fun to watch how people's backstories, like the personality that people decide they want this character to be, watch how it unfolds. Watch how they handle situations that may be against their core beliefs. Like
because they're not participating. Your character is playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's say you're playing a character that's lawful good. You don't believe in killing people.
Mm-hmm.
But you come across a moral situation where you may have to kill someone who's not necessarily evil, but they're in the process of doing an evil act that may cause many to die. What do you do?
Yeah, in real life you could say, well, I personally would run away because I'm scared. But my character is brave and tough and, may find a way to diplomatize. That's a word.
I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah.
I make up words all the time. I'm not gonna judge anyone on what words they use.
Parley is also a good strategy for a nobleman.
Parmesan.
Mm-hmm. That's a good topping for a nobleman. I had something I was gonna say. I forgot.
We can wait.
Oh well.
I'll wait.
Okay, sure. Play some music while I wait.
All right, we've waited long enough.
Damn it! I thought you were gonna ramp up, and I was like,
I don't care what you wanted to say anymore.
Maybe it was dumb. Oh, I remember what it was. I tried to create a character that had a tragic backstory because I don't know. I'm always interested in like the trauma that causes a person to be what they become. He lost his wife and 2-year-old son in like a raid of his village. So I always have a sworn vengeance to kill the people in this land, one person at a time. But I'm also very destroyed inside because I've lost all the things that I want to fight for. So I don't actually want to kill all those orcs or the bad guys. It's not going to bring them back. My character's really kind of a bitch.
But what's important, the first step is accepting who you are.
Yeah.
And then,
in real life,
and then you can grow.
And in Pathfinder.
All right. So what are the recommendations that we would give of why someone should try Path? Like we talked about the conversation.
That's a good idea. That's a good point.
But people that don't currently play or haven't played,
they have been jumped in there. They don't have the initiative because it requires more people than just yourself. You have to get 4 or 5 people that all agree that want to play this game.
So what sort of advice would we give them? Why should they attempt this? Because it's a little embarrassing when you first start. You have to interact with people in a way that you don't really interact with. You have to learn to essentially be open and expose yourself because you have to play a character. And if you're not used to that kind of interaction, you're afraid of like, well, what if I make a character decision, everybody judges me? Like you have to you start creating this safe environment where people are allowed to just be their characters. You're allowed to have fun.
And it's important you stick with the core principle, CORE. Just know what your character is. Know the objective that your character wants. Know the relationship of the character and the other characters around him. And, note the environment, which isn't really up to the character. It's up to the GM. But you get all those squared away, then you really have a potential for, really interesting dialogue.
And I mean, at the end of the day, all these games that we've mentioned are about fun.
Yeah.
And
I think everyone can agree with that.
I hope everyone can agree with that. You do have the people that are only there to min-max their stats and their items. And
I do have a bit of schadenfreude when something bad happens to someone else. Because I rolled better than them and I have better reflexes and they tripped and fell on us. It's quicksand. I love that.
But at the end of the day, all these things we do them for fun. We do them to have fun with our friends, to just enjoy ourselves, to relax.
Mm-hmm. It's like going out to a bar just to get a drink, just loosen up and chalk. But, No,
I don't. No, yeah.
Yes, you do. Yes, and me, Corey.
I completely am following you. I think.
I guess it depends if it's your fancy. Is what I was thinking. I was like, you don't necessarily have to do this. You could go get a drink at a bar if that's where you're more comfortable, and accomplish basically the same thing. But I think playing fantasy style games like fantasy football or fantasy baseball or fantasy life, which would be Pathfinder, is really fun. It's fun to watch your character grow and develop within you. You learn a lot about stuff that you wouldn't think about, and you go, I do this completely different than my character does in real life. I wipe back to front, he wipes front to back.
The important things.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, do we want to wrap up with our viewer question?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is something we didn't get to last time. We would like to end every show with a question that's come from the viewers. Last time we went way longer than we were planning, so we didn't do the viewer question.
But expect it.
But expect it. We would like your questions. As always, we want your feedback, all that stuff. We'll get to our plugs at the end. This particular question came from one of our viewers. It is, if we could have any superpower, what would it be?
And I think you referred to the X-Men in terms of which powers we could choose from.
Yeah, well, I believe it was geared towards the X-Men, especially with the new movie coming out. But do you have an answer? Would you like me to go first?
You go. I have an answer, but you can go first.
Mine would have to be telekinesis. It's one of those powers that's just loosely defined enough that you can really kind of abuse it.
Oh, exactly, because you have to try to find a way around the loopholes and stuff like that. Because once you get your power and you find all these restrictions, like if you're Spider-Man, everyone hates you and you're trying to get arrested all the time, that's no fun.
Exactly. But like telekinesis, like, okay, yeah, you could do the lazy things like make the remote come to me when I'm too lazy to go up and get it.
I was just going to say that.
But technically you can define telekinesis the ability to fly. Because you're moving...
Telekinesis yourself.
Yeah, you're moving yourself. So that would be my power because it's loosely defined enough that, I get flight, I get the ability to move things with my mind.
I really like mind control. Being able to peer into someone's mind and influence their ideas of what they will do and say. That one's got a lot of potential. I like the superpowers that have more potential to be more flexible in situations. So someone's power, like throwing Gambit's power, where he throws a card and it explodes. It's like that's fun and all, but
you mean awesome?
It is awesome, but it's like there's situations where that's not going to help you. It
wouldn't have a lot of practicality in real life, exactly. Other than the cool parlor trick of
like watch this.
Pick a card, any card.
Do that thing where you just throw the cards all over the place. But I've learned from my favorite anime show, Hunter x Hunter, that the more diverse you set up your superpower to be, the better off you're going to be. Much like Rogue. Is that her name, Rogue?
Yeah.
Where she touches people and steals her power?
Yeah.
That's a really good power. Not in our world, because there's nothing to steal from, necessarily. You just try to just drain their life force and kill people by touching them.
Thank you for the diabetes.
But that's the one where it's like, in any situation, she's going to have the right power.
Mm-hmm.
And the mind control, I think, is just fun because I play poker a lot. I feel like that would really
give you that edge.
Mm-hmm. I think foresight into like 2 or 3 seconds into the future would be amazing. If not too practical, it would kind of probably get on your nerves after a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, so that's our official answer. I go with telekinesis. You would go with mind control?
Yeah. Well, not anymore since they nerfed it.
Made it a 10 cost card instead of an 8.
Yeah, that's a lot of mana. That's your whole turn. And it's just too slow of a tempo play, I think. So I'm going to go with Shadow Madness where I can take control of someone's mind for only a little bit.
All right, well, there's our Hearthstone plug for the episode. All right, well, that was the viewer question. What superpower would you have if you could have any? Like I said before, if you have any questions, we would love to hear them. We're going to pick one question every episode. Would you like to go ahead and plug where they can find us?
Let me go get that real quick here.
All right, well, I'll do the plugs then. I got this.
You don't remember them?
No, I got this. It's cool. It's cool. We're professional. We got this. We got this stuff.
Here, no, you start doing it and I'll tell you when you're wrong.
All right. You can find us on Twitter at PodQuestShow. You can find us at Facebook at facebook.com/PodQuestShow. And you can email us at PodQuestShow@gmail.com. Is that right?
Yeah, you did a pretty good job.
All right, nailed it. Nailed that. I know our handles.
I recommend the Facebook page because that'll be better for everyone to see your question ahead of time. Maybe let you know that they also want to hear your question. But if you have any, podcast related questions or comments, the email would be the best way to go.
And if you're not already there listening to this, which I'm not sure quite how you do that, but we also have SoundCloud/PodQuestShow, which is where this is hosted.
We'll link those, obviously.
One last thing we'd like feedback on. We're also considering posting all these to iTunes, and we'd like to know if that would interest people. People would be wanting that as a way to download the episodes and stuff like that. So, leave us your feedback. Leave us what you like, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see, your questions.
Favorite
color.
Mother's maiden name.
No one has taken us up on that offer for a date yet, so...
Yeah, seriously, 2 guys at the same time. That's got to be fun. For a little bit
that's got to be someone's fantasy. Mm-hmm. There's got to be someone out there who wants me.
That's really sad. That's super sad.
No, but thank you all for listening. I think next episode we're thinking about doing movies. Stay tuned to the Facebook. We'll post what we decide our final topic to be.
There would be superhero movies if it was a movie. By
Yeah,
the way.
if it was.
The new Spider-Man.
New Spider-Man.
The new X-Men coming out.
New X-Men. We'll probably even go back, even though they're not brand new. We'll probably talk about Thor, Captain America.
We'll get all the Avengers in there.
We'll get stuff in there.
Yeah.
We'll do our research. We will go watch these movies again for you, the viewer.
It's
not because we want to see them.
We're suffering for the good of the podcast. We're gonna sit through the whole movie. I can't believe that. I don't know if I have the patience for that.
All right. I wish we had outro music. This would be where it comes in slowly.
Some awesome music shows up. Yeah. Next week. Music is en route.
En route.
En route.
It will rue the day that it outroed for us.
It's just a song.
All right, bye everybody.
Oh my god.